Weak with exhaustion and dehydration, and aching from intense hunger, Dr. Alex Curtis barely opened his eyes when he heard the lock on the cage door rattle. Not that it was much of a lock, or a door, or a cage. Everything was made of bamboo or palm fronds or some natural material that Alex couldn't identify. But as primitive as it was stronger than it looked, and he hadn't been able to find a weak point. Upon reaching the uncharted island, Alex and his colleague, Dr. Javier Moto, hadn't seen a single piece of metal other than what they brought with them after their ship dropped them off, promising to return in 2 weeks' time. And when they met the locals, the metal they did have on them was no longer theirs. They were stripped of their belongings, their clothes, boots, and even Alex's glasses, rendering him functionally blind. He had maybe 1.5 feet in front of him that was clear. Everything else was a constant blur, devolving into nothingness. Naked and unable to communicate with the tribe who had captured them, Alex and Javier complied with the threatening gestures and taunts and followed the tribe back to their camp, where they were immediately thrown into the cage.
Alex!
Javier croaked as Alex struggled to open his eyes to see what was happening.
Don't let them take me! Javier! Alex! Help me!
His friend and colleague's scream brought Alex around fast, and he lurched up onto his feet, grabbing the bamboo bars of the cage with cracked and bleeding hands for support. He could see shapes dragging another shape from the cage. Then the door was slammed closed, and the sound of the primitive yet effective locks reached Alex's ears. He gave the bars a heavy shake as he screamed,
Stop! Where are you taking him?
Children close by snickered and laughed at him. Something wet splattered across his cheek, and the reek of feces hit his nostrils like a freight train. There was more snickering and laughter as Alex fell to his knees and tried to wipe the literal crap from his face. He used the dirt from the floor of the cage to get as much off as possible. But in the end, all he managed to do was smear a bunch of dirt and shit all over his cheeks and hands, cleaning nothing at all. Scooting back onto his ass, with his knees to his chest and his arms wrapped about his legs, Alex rocked himself back and forth in a corner of the cage until exhaustion took him once again. When he struggled back awake and consciousness played its cruel trick of triggering memories, Alex slid down onto his side and curled up into a fetal position. The light was gone, and he could tell by the stillness of the tribe's village that everyone was sleeping. There were even far-off snores echoing from some of the huts, supporting his hypothesis.
Javier!
He whispered, hoping his friend had returned.
Javier!
His friend did not answer. Alex held himself tighter while he tried to ignore the stank of shit that wafted off of himself. He'd cry, except he didn't have enough moisture in his body to produce a single tear. Alex knew that he had maybe a day, possibly 2, before his body broke down from lack of water. The dehydration had already sent agonizing cramps throughout his body. He knew his muscles were breaking down and his organs weren't far behind. Despite the odor, Alex tried to take a deep breath. His lungs rattled and hitched in his chest, making a full breath impossible. Alex wondered what other humiliations and indignities he'd be subjected to before they let him die. If he was lucky, he'd go in his sleep, his heart stopping, or his lungs just refusing to draw in more air.
Javier!
Alex muttered before drifting back to sleep. Light slowly filtered through his eyelids, but that wasn't what woke him up. It was the sudden splash of cold, sour liquid hitting his face that jolted him back to awareness.
Stop!
He croaked, his cracked lips stinging as the liquid dripped down his cheeks. He turned his head away, but thirst clawed at him, overriding his instincts. Desperation pushed him to let the foul-tasting water trickle into his mouth. It burned his throat as he swallowed, but he was too parched to care. He realized the liquid was piss. Laughter echoed around him, sharp and mocking, as more of the tainted liquid was poured over him. He sputtered and gagged, but still, he drank, the humiliation cutting deeper than the bitterness in his mouth.
Javier!
He croaked, squinting against the harsh sun.
Javier! Javier! Javier!
Children's voices chanted, their taunts ringing in his ears. Another splash hit him, and Alex choked as the rancid water filled his mouth. Overcome, his stomach heaved, and he barely managed to turn his head in time to retch onto the ground.
Why?
He whispered hoarsely, his body trembling as the acidic taste lingered on his tongue.
Why?
Shamed and racked by dry sobs, Alex quietly cried as he drank and drank the waste he was given. As he took a huge gulp, his open mouth was suddenly filled with another shit attack. In half a second, everything he'd just drank came shooting back up, and Alex barely managed to roll over enough so that he didn't choke on his own vomit.
Why?
He cried, the trifecta taste of puke, piss, and shit in his mouth.
Why?
Something hard slammed into the spot between his eyes, and the tropical daylight went out like a switch being flipped. It was night again when he woke up. He was honestly surprised he did wake up. Alex expected each wave of unconsciousness to be his last.
Oh, Javier.
Alex whimpered.
Be good.
Alex bolted awake and sat upright. His head screamed with pain, and he nearly passed back out. But the thought that someone could communicate with him kept him from drifting back down into unconsciousness.
Hello?
Alex asked, looking about the dark cage. The village was asleep again, so only a few torches burned, scattered here and there around the main walkways. None were close to his cage.
Who's there? No say me.
Alex whipped his head back and forth and almost lost consciousness. He slowed his movements, steadied his brain, and opened his eyes as wide as possible to let in as much light as was available. Blind or not, if he could just see an outline, then he'd know he wasn't hearing the voice in his head.
You don't know your name? Name no tell. You can't tell me your name? Is that what you're saying?
Alex asked, and kept searching for the source of the voice.
No, name no say good. Name no say good? Yes.
He still couldn't see where the voice was coming from, but his brain fog was clearing enough that he could say with almost 100% certainty that he actually was conversing with someone and not himself.
Name no say good. Name no say good.
Alex muttered. Then it clicked.
Your name doesn't translate. Is that it? Let's see.
Alex mumbled as he thought. Then he spoke up.
Name hard to say in my language. Name easy you, name hard me. Yes.
Relief washed over Alex. He'd made progress communicating. But how? The island was uncharted. No one had ever visited it as far as he and Javier knew. It was not on any map, not in any book. There were no logs of ships even passing by and seeing it in the distance. Until Javier stumbled across it while searching satellite images of the area, the place was a complete unknown. So how was this mystery person conversing in broken English? Realization dawned in Alex's muddled brain. The island had been discovered before, just no one had made it off alive to tell anyone. Which meant he needed to play things very, very carefully if he was to live.
Me, Alex
said, feeling foolish for dumbing down his syntax, but unwilling to risk frustrating the unseen communicator.
You, Alex? Yes. Me. Can you use a nickname?
Alex asked, worried the reference would be too hard to understand.
Nickname. Short name. Small name. Gat. Gat? Yes. Gat is your nickname? Gat small name. Nickname? Yes. Gat nickname. Small name. Hello, Gat. I'm Alex. It's a pleasure meeting you. No, here, right. Was I talking too fast?
Alex gave a chuckle.
Never mind. Of course I was. I'll talk slower.
He cleared his throat, ignoring the foul taste in his mouth, and said,
Happy meet you. Alex, happy meet Gat. Gat happy too. Good, good.
Alex exclaimed. A voice called out from somewhere in the village. Alex suddenly saw a short person run away from the cage.
Gat!
Alex called.
Come back!
Alex waited and waited, but Gat didn't come back. Just as he was giving up and about to lay back down so he could perform the only duty he was good at, which was sleeping, a smell broke through the stank of shit and piss and vomit. Crawling toward where he thought the cage door was, Alex sniffed deeply, and the new smell grew stronger and stronger. When he reached the door, he could barely make out a small mound just inside the threshold. Alex leaned in carefully and sniffed. Fruit! He had no idea what fruit it was, but he didn't care. He also had no self-control left, so Alex scooped up the crushed fruit into his soiled hands and stuffed every bit of pulp and skin and juice into his mouth. He chewed quickly and swallowed just as fast. It was heaven to his taste buds and a panacea for his parched throat. But when the sweet fruit hit his stomach, Alex knew he'd messed up. He'd eaten too fast. His system wasn't ready for solids, let alone the intense, sugary sweetness that the fruit held. Before he could even turn his head, the fruit came roaring back up, and he projectile vomited through the door's bamboo bars. Alex shook and sobbed quietly as he mourned the loss of the food. Then a wicked and nasty thought hit him. Scooting closer to the bars, Alex reached through, spying a dark splotch on the ground that he assumed was wetness. He scooped up handful after handful of vomit-soaked dirt and slowly fed himself. It was excruciatingly disgusting. A mixture of sour and sweet, liquid and dense. After what felt like hours, Alex managed to get as much as he could off the ground and into his belly. He eased away from the door and slid into his corner, where he rolled himself into a ball and tried to sleep away the memory of what he'd just done. Alex awoke to tropical bird calls and the chatter of the village stirring. The sun wasn't even up over the trees, which surprised Alex. He hadn't woken up before dawn since he'd been imprisoned. The fruit puke dirt meal must have helped a little. Alex burped and gagged some, but kept everything down. Then his stomach rumbled, and he barely managed to scramble to the hole he and Javier had dug when they'd first been thrown in the cage. Hot liquid burst from between his legs, and the smell threatened to choke him. He'd kept the puke dirt down, but his body wasn't exactly happy about it. If it couldn't expel through one hole, then it would expel through another. Burning, cramping, and even more exhausted than before, Alex shook himself as clean as he could, then crawled back to his corner where he passed back out. It wasn't a voice that woke him next, but more of a feeling. Alex opened one eye and aimed it in the direction of the cage door. He could see a shape there, waiting and watching.
Gat?
He asked.
Alex.
The shape replied. Alex came more awake and sat up. He rubbed his eyes, hoping to remove some of the gunk and gain a little more clarity. It didn't do much for his vision, but it did feel good.
Alex, eat? Yes, please.
Alex replied and slowly crawled to the cage door. When he was close enough that the shape became a form, and the form became a human, Alex wasn't surprised that he was looking at a young boy. Well, maybe a teenager considering the locals' average heights seemed to be below the international norm.
Alex, eat?
Gat asked again.
Please,
Alex said, and tentatively reached his fingers through the bar.
Please, I'm so hungry.
Gat took a step back, and Alex was worried he'd spooked the boy. He yanked his fingers back and held himself still. The boy turned away, and Alex almost called out to him, but then saw what was behind the kid. A bucket, and there was steam coming from the bucket. Alex's heart sank.
No, no, no.
Alex said, and waved his hands in front of his face.
No more shit. Please, no more. No shit.
Gat said. The boy began to ladle from the bucket into a small bowl. He turned and looked down at Alex.
Alex, eat.
The wind shifted, and the smell of fresh stew slammed into Alex's nostrils. He immediately began to salivate, surprised he had the moisture to even do that.
Oh, God, yes.
Alex said, and reached toward the bars.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Alex, eat slow. Alex, eat slow.
Alex agreed and did just that. He took the bowl and brought it to his lips. Slowly, he sipped the hot broth first, pausing frequently to let the liquid settle in his stomach. Once he knew that the broth was going to stay down, he tipped the bowl back further and felt a piece of meat hit his teeth. Alex didn't dare mess up the opportunity for sustenance, so he chewed and chewed that single chunk of meat for several minutes, making sure it was completely masticated before swallowing.
Oh my God,
he whispered as he turned and rested his back against the cage bars. He closed his eyes and sniffed deeply, the bowl only a couple of inches away from his nose.
That is heaven. Alex like? Yes, Alex like very much.
Alex replied. He tipped the bowl once more and was rewarded with a second chunk of meat. He took just as much care as before eating this second helping. With a little strength coming back, Alex glanced over his shoulder at his saving angel.
Thank you, Gat. Alex, welcome.
Alex gave the boy a smile. The boy smiled back, as far as Alex's weak eyes could see. Then a sadness hit Alex, even with the new warmth in his belly.
Where is Javier?
Alex asked.
My friend, the other man. Where did they take him? Oh, him,
Gat said and moved close. The boy's beaming smile came into focus.
Javier good. Javier is good? He's okay? Where is he?
Alex asked, desperate for the news of his friend. Gat frowned, his brow dropping. He looked confused.
Javier good. I know, you said that, but where is he?
Gat pointed at the bowl.
Javier good. Taste good. You like?
Gat said, still pointing at the bowl. Alex looked down at the remnants of the stew still in the bowl, and it all clicked.
Oh, God.
He burst out crying as he lifted the bowl to his mouth. If he was going to live, then he had to do whatever it took.
Thank you, Javier,
Alex said, just before taking another bite. He chewed, and swallowed.
Javier good.
We've got movement on our 6.
Nomad says, his eyes locked on the scanner attached to the top of his M4 carbine.
Arkle, you got it?
I see him.
Arkle responds, bringing up the rear of the group as the 4 men slowly march their way through the dense jungle.
Looks like curious tag-alongs. They're keeping an even distance.
Don't be fooled.
Busby says from his point position at the front of the group.
They could be the distraction.
Should I be worried, Mr. Busby?
Mr. Bozeman asks from directly behind Busby.
You will get us safely to the beach, yes? That's what you hired us for, Mr. Bozeman.
Busby replies, his M4 swinging evenly from left to right to left, as he makes sure their path is clear of any hostiles.
We got you in safely, and we'll get you out safely. I would hope so.
Mr. Bozeman says, as he tugs on the sweat-soaked collar of his overly expensive safari-style shirt.
The amount I paid you for your services was not insubstantial. My safe return is of the utmost importance. I know it is, Mr. Bozeman. So if you could maybe be quiet and let us do our jobs, then we'll make sure you get every penny's worth.
Busby says just before coming to a halt and raising a fist. He drops into a crouch, reaching behind him without looking back to pull Mr. Bozeman down into a crouch with him. Harkle and Nomitz follow suit and drop down too.
What you seeing, Busby?
Nomitz whispers.
Not sure.
Busby whispers back, his eyes studying the foliage that surrounds them all.
Thought I saw movement. Not picking up anything on the scanners.
Nomitz says.
R6 is still clear.
Harkle adds.
We need to keep moving.
Mr. Bozeman says in a loud voice.
The ship will not wait forever, Mr. Busby. I have important samples that must be quiet.
Busby snaps, keeping his voice low.
I will not be spoken to in that tone, Mr. Busby.
Mr. Bozeman continues.
When I hire security, I expect them to show a decent amount of respect. I will not tolerate, do you want to fucking live, asshole?
Busby snarls as he turns and stares at Mr. Bozeman. Mr. Bozeman swallows hard, eyes the M4 that Busby grips, and nods.
Then be quiet.
When Busby turns himself back around, Mr. Bozeman glares at the back of the man's head, rage in his eyes.
Bogies on R6 are leaving.
Harkle whispers.
Moving away. What?
Busby asks.
They're moving away fast.
Harkle says.
Like really fast. Something has them spooked.
Nomitz says.
Something has me spooked.
Busby says. The group wait for a solid minute before Busby shakes his head and stands up, his eyes studying the landscape.
Let's keep going,
Busby says.
Finally,
Mr. Bozeman mutters. Busby doesn't respond. His attention is on the path in front of him and any possible danger that may strike. They trudge through the dense jungle, the security operators on high alert. Mr. Bozeman, on the other hand, is only half paying attention to his surroundings. His eyes keep going to the heavy-duty canvas bag strapped across his shoulders and hanging by his right hip. A bag filled with samples of gold, emeralds, and the holy grail of natural resource finds, lithium. The gold deposit he found is enough to fund operations for a century, at least. The emeralds could be just as lucrative. And the lithium? Mr. Bozeman is a rich man. A very rich man. But the lithium discovery will make him an even richer man. A man with 12 zeros behind his bank balance. And that includes the cut he'll have to give to his partners. A hissing off to the left gets Mr. Bozeman's attention, and he stops walking, causing Nomitz to bump right into him.
What's wrong?
Nomitz asks.
I heard something.
Mr. Bozeman says.
Like what?
Nomitz asks, his eyes moving in the direction of Mr. Bozeman's gaze.
I'm not sure.
Busby stops and looks back over his shoulder.
Talk to me, Nom,
he says.
Bozeman heard something. Can you confirm? No,
Nomitz says, then cocks his head.
but I think the jungle has.
They all listen hard to the sound of absolute nothing. No birds, no tree frogs, no small animals rustling the leaves on the jungle floor, no insects, nothing.
What's the call, boss?
Nomitz asks Busby.
Harkle?
Busby asks.
I'm seeing nothing.
Harkle responds.
My scanner is clear, and I don't have eyes on any movement. Same.
Nomitz says. There's a slap and a low slithering sound from the group's right. Busby, Nomitz, and Harkle all turn in that direction, their M4s up and at the ready.
Snake?
Harkle whispers.
It'd be a big fucking snake.
Nomitz responds quietly.
Shit is big on this damn island.
Harkle replies, his voice barely audible.
Evolution took a different turn on this island due to it being hidden from explorers for centuries.
Mr. Bozeman says way too loudly.
Hush!
Busby orders, his face a mask of frustration mixed with sharp awareness.
I'm simply saying that the fauna here could easily be unknown and...
Before Mr. Bozeman can finish speaking, a thick vine shoots out from the foliage and wraps itself around Nomitz's neck. Nomitz cries out, his hands grabbing at the vine, desperate to get between it and his skin. His M4 falls to his side, dangling by its strap as it smacks his leg over and over while Nomitz thrashes against the attack.
Fucking hell!
Parkle shouts and opens fire on the vine, shredding the thick flora in seconds with his carbine. Nomitz stumbles backward from the sudden release and lands on his ass, his eyes bulging, his face purple, his hands still desperate to get the vine to uncoil from around his neck, which it refuses to do.
What the fuck?
Busby shouts and removes his K-bar knife from its sheath. He pushes past Mr. Bozeman and kneels next to Nomitz.
Hold on, brother. I got you.
Busby says as he slices at the vine. The thing constricts further, and Nomitz's eyes bulge even more. The whites are now fully bloodshot, and the skin on his face looks so tight that it will burst at any second.
The fucking thing won't let go.
Busby growls as he keeps cutting.
Fuck me!
Parkle yells and opens fire once again. Mr. Bozeman falls to his knees, then bends over, his hands over his head, his forehead touching the jungle dirt. He screams as the gunfire roars around him. Busby feels wetness splatter his shoulders and the back of his neck, and he risks a quick glance behind him.
Shit,
he says, and cuts faster as he sees more vines snaking out of the jungle, whipping toward Harkle as the man fires again and again, struggling to keep them back.
Mr. Busby!
Mr. Bozeman shouts from his crouched position.
Get me out of here, Mr. Busby! That is your job! I'm not gonna let my man die, you son of a...
Busby shouts, just as Nomitz's head explodes from the pressure. Brain and bone and blood splatter Busby, and he coughs out a hunk of gray matter just before a vine snatches him by the upper part of his left arm.
Fuck this!
Busby yells and swipes down fast with his knife, slicing through the vine before it can pull him into the jungle. He stabs at what's left of the vine attached to his arm, twists and cuts downward, extracting his arm from the still constricting hunk of flora.
Boss!
Parkle yells and Busby jumps to his feet, spinning with his M4 up. Parkle has vines tangled around both ankles. The man stares at Busby and starts to yell something just as his feet are pulled out from under him and he's dragged screaming into the jungle's depths.
Move, move, move!
Busby shouts, yanking Mr. Bozeman to his feet and shoving him in the direction they had been going.
Do not stop moving unless I tell you.
Mr. Bozeman replies with a terrified squeak as a vine just misses his head. Busby slashes down, severing the vine from its root. He then jumps over the flopping piece as it still tries to grab for him as he and Mr. Bozeman flee.
Help!
Mr. Bozeman shouts when a vine snatches his bag and yanks him off his feet. Busby doesn't miss a step. He leans down, cuts the bag strap, and pulls Mr. Bozeman back up, all in one smooth motion.
The samples!
Mr. Bozeman screeches.
Fuck the samples!
Busby yells, pushing Mr. Bozeman along.
I need those!
Mr. Bozeman yells, and actually tries to turn around to retrieve his lost bag.
No, you fucking don't!
Busby yells and spins Mr. Bozeman back in the correct direction, giving him a hard push in the small of his back.
You can't do shit with them if you're fucking dead, asshole!
Busby keeps pushing Mr. Bozeman through the jungle. He shoves his head down as a vine whips past. He pulls him to the right as a vine drops from above. He brings the man to a full stop when a wall of vines appears right before them both.
This way!
Busby says, and drags Mr. Bozeman to the right, off the animal path they'd been following and directly into the thick jungle.
Where are we going? Away from here.
Busby replies, keeping the older man moving along. The noise of the pursuing vines fills the jungle, but Busby focuses on their way forward. Bright light is ahead and Busby shouts.
Do not slow down! Do you hear me? Do not slow down! What do you mean?
Mr. Bozeman exclaims.
Why would I slow?
The man screams as he breaks from the jungle and is suddenly airborne. Busby is right behind him as both men fall off the edge of the steep cliff that borders that side of the jungle. When Busby hits the water below, he unstraps his M4 and lets it fall to the river bottom. He spins himself this way and that way until he spots the flailing form of Mr. Bozeman. With powerful strokes, Busby swims to his client, wraps an arm under the man's armpits, and kicks hard to the surface. They break free of the water's surface, each taking a huge gulp of air. Busby keeps a hold of Mr. Bozeman and swims them to the bank.
We need to get out of the water,
Busby says, scrambling up the bank. He turns, and Mr. Bozeman is only laying there.
Get the fuck up! Let me catch my breath. Sure, no problem.
Busby says, just as he grabs the man by the shoulders and yanks him across the muddy bank and up to solid dirt.
I'm sure the Crocs on this island would love for you to hang out. Crocs? Crocs.
Busby says, and points to several webbed footprints in the riverbank's mud. Busby looks up at the sky, studying the angle of the sun.
Come on, this way. Where are we going? The beach and our raft.
Busby says.
Unless you want to stay here. I do not.
Busby pulls a .45 semi-automatic handgun from the holster on his hip. He shakes some of the water away and pulls back the slide, chambering around.
Will it even fire? It's never let me down yet. Yes, but it's wet. Will it? It'll fucking fire.
Busby snarls.
Get to jogging, Mr. Bozeman. We're almost free of this hell.
Mr. Bozeman eyes the handgun, then nods, turns, and starts jogging in the direction Busby is pointing. The jungle is thick, but not as thick as it was when the vines attacked. Soon it becomes sparser and sparser, as the distant sound of waves crashing on sand begins to take over the close-up jungle sounds. When the two men reach a patch of low-lying palms, Busby grabs Mr. Bozeman's shoulder and stops him.
Get down,
he hisses, and yanks the man to his knees behind the branches.
What is it? We're not alone,
Busby says.
There were 4 men, all armed, standing next to the raft. There were? How? No one knows we even found this island. The ship's captain must have called someone. I'm guessing you got cheap and didn't pay the man as much as he would have liked. He was paid the appropriate amount for the work he was contracted to do, which obviously wasn't enough.
He rubs his face and sighs.
All right, I have a plan,
Busby says.
I think I can get us out of this. How do you plan to do that?
Busby leans to the side and racks the gun's slide again, then ejects the magazine. He grunts and slaps a new magazine into the gun, then racks the slide once more.
Hollow points,
he says, and offers the gun to Mr. Bozeman.
If my plan doesn't work and they come toward you, just point and fire until it's empty, then run like hell.
Mr. Bozeman eyes the gun, then takes it quickly.
What will you do?
Busby turns his head and peers through the palm fronds at the distant shapes of the men on the beach, standing next to the Zodiac raft he and his team used to bring Mr. Bozeman ashore.
I'm going to walk toward them with my hands waving, like I'm asking for help,
Busby says.
Hopefully, they'll see I'm unarmed and won't open fire. I'm sure they'll want to know where you are, so I should have a little wiggle room. Wiggle room for what? I'll still have my knife.
Then the cold steel of the .45 is pressed to his temple.
I would like you to hand me the knife too, Mr. Busby,
Mr. Bozeman says.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Busby asks, without moving a muscle.
I'm afraid so,
Mr. Bozeman says.
Unfortunately, the discovery of this island must remain secret. You know the riches it possesses. The knowledge cannot get out. I'm not gonna say a word, asshole,
Busby replies.
You paid me to keep you alive and to keep my mouth shut. I am sorry,
Mr. Bozeman says, his finger on the trigger.
I'm just not a trusting man, and we are talking trillions of dollars in profit. Well, you do what you have to do.
Mr. Bozeman squeezes the trigger. The only noise the gun makes is a dry click. Busby spins on Mr. Bozeman and slides his knife blade up through the soft flesh under Mr. Bozeman's chin, up through his mouth and into his brain. Busby stares the man in his eyes as the life leaves him. Then he yanks his knife free and wipes it on Mr. Bozeman's expensive safari shirt before he stands up. As he pushes through the palm fronds, he shouts,
Double cross achieved!
The men by the raft all turn his way, rifles up. Then they relax and lower the weapons. When Busby gets to the raft, one of the men asks,
He dead? Just like his partners wanted.
Busby says, and sits down on the side of the raft.
I gave him a chance not to be an asshole like they asked me to. He didn't take it. Your team?
The man asks Busby.
Gone.
Busby says and sighs.
Same with the samples.
He taps his forehead.
But I know exactly where every deposit we found is. Lithium?
The man asks.
Lithium.
Busby replies.
You're about to be one wealthy motherfucker.
The man says and laughs.
Don't forget us little guys when you get your payout.
Busby looks at the man and then looks back at the jungle.
Oh, trust me,
Busby says.
They're gonna need every hired gun available with this place. So explain to me again how an entire island can be hidden?
Mitchell asked as he stood at the ship's railing, staring out at the empty ocean. Angelina bumped his hip with hers and leaned her head on his shoulder.
Don't worry about it,
She said.
it's not as mysterious as you think.
Mitchell laughed and pointed at the watery expanse.
The captain said we'd be docking in about 2 hours.
Mitchell said, moving his hand back and forth, lining it up with the empty horizon.
But I'm not seeing anything out there. I get spatial distortion and all that, but if we're 2 hours from land, then we should see something by now.
Angelina grabbed his arm and lowered it to Mitchell's side, then took his hand in hers.
Mitchell?
She asked in a cooing voice.
Yes?
He replied a little wary.
Do you love me? You know I do. Say it. I love you. Then you have to trust me. Angelina, there's no island. There's nothing out there.
She sighed and turned him to face her. When she looked up into his eyes, she gave him a serious frown.
Why are we here?
She asked.
What do you mean? I mean, why are we on this boat? Why are we making this trip? Because something you've wanted for most of your life is about to happen? Exactly,
Angelina said, and went up on tiptoes to give him a kiss.
I have dreamed of this day since I was a little girl. My parents were part of the Volcano Club. My grandparents on both sides were part of the Volcano Club. It had a different name back then, but it was the same thing.
She tapped a finger on her chin.
I wonder how many different names it's gone by.
Mitchell snapped his fingers in front of her face.
Focus. Don't do that.
She said, and playfully slapped his hand away.
Just trying to keep you on track.
Mitchell said with a laugh.
You know how scattered you can get when you're excited? And why am I so excited?
She asked, batting her eyelashes.
Because you finally got the invitation to join the club.
Mitchell said.
Which is weird. I'd think there'd be some legacy thing with a club like this. Not that I know shit about this club. And speaking of, you'll learn all about it when the time is right,
Angelina said.
but we have to get there first. Is this what it was like for your parents?
Mitchell asked.
Which one of them was invited, and which one was the +1 like me? Oh, they each had their own +1s.
Angelina replied.
They didn't meet until they got to the island. Apparently, it was love at first sight. Yikes,
Mitchell said and laughed again.
awkward for the +1s. I'm sure it was.
Angelina said, and squeezed his hand tight.
Tell me you love me again. I love you!
Mitchell shouted, then looked over his shoulder at the other passengers on the deck.
You hear that, folks? I love Angelina Cartwright. Stop.
Angelina said, and patted Mitchell on the chest.
Oh, okay. Say it again. I love Angelina Cartwright!
Mitchell shouted again, then glanced out at the empty ocean, which wasn't so empty anymore.
Hey, will you look at that?
Far out on the water, a thick mist rose. Quickly, it became a thin fog, then a dense fog. In seconds, the dense fog looked almost like smoke.
There fire in there?
Mitchell asked.
Do you see that? No, I don't see anything except the fog.
Angelina said.
I guess this is why the island is hidden. Yeah, but that came out of nowhere.
Mitchell said.
1 second it wasn't there. The next it was. Weather is weird.
Mitchell continued to stare until a squawk over the ship's public address system drew his attention to the bridge.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please leave the deck and step inside for the final leg of our journey, it would be much appreciated.
The captain's voice rang out over the PA.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you could please step inside right away.
Mitchell looked about to see that most of the other passengers complied immediately, while a few hung around on the deck, their eyes on the heavy smoke that was getting closer and closer. Mitchell turned back to the sight and squinted.
Seriously, Angie, I think I see flames in there.
Mitchell said. He leaned over the railing as if getting a foot or two closer would help. Then he shook his head.
Nah, it's probably the sunlight playing tricks. I bet it's refracting off moisture in the fog. There he is,
Angelina said and rubbed Mitchell's arm.
my little genius. Love genius. I stand corrected,
Angelina replied with a giggle.
There he is, my little love genius. And not so little,
Mitchell added.
Okay, don't push it, tough guy.
Angelina said, and pulled him by the hand toward the closest door.
Let's get inside. Don't want to upset the captain and get a black mark before I'm even in the club. Before we're in the club, you mean?
Mitchell said.
Unless you're planning on ditching me when we get there because you see your soulmate. Don't you dare do me dirty like your parents did to their plus ones, Angelina Cartwright. Sometimes my love genius thinks too much,
Angelina said, and opened the door for them.
In you go, my little overthinker. How many nicknames are you going to give me today?
Mitchell asked with a laugh and stepped inside the ship. When the ship docked, Mitchell was surprised by how dazzling bright and blue the water in the bay was. It was as if glass had been liquefied and poured over golden sand. When the ship went through the fog, Mitchell expected them to come out the other side into some gray, cloudy bay with ominous storm clouds and palm trees bent sideways from gale winds. Mitchell could have sworn he had heard thunder as the ship slipped through the fog.
Wow, this is gorgeous,
Mitchell said.
And the whole island is owned by the club? Lock, stock, and barrel. Lock, stock, and what? Just something my parents and grandparents would say,
Angelina replied.
You haven't heard that saying before? Maybe. Wasn't there some movie called that? Probably, yeah.
The PA squawked again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Island of Desire.
The captain announced.
For those members who have been here before, you may disembark first. Your porters will show you to your bungalows. For those of you who this is your first time on Desire, please disembark and wait on the dock. Denny will be along shortly to get you checked in and direct you to your rooms. Rooms?
Mitchell asked.
We don't get bungalows? Those are only for current members,
Angelina said.
I've got to be sworn in first before I get bungalow privileges. Before we get bungalow privileges,
Mitchell said.
And what's this about the island being called Desire? This isn't some swingers club, is it? I mean, that's what you're into. I wish we'd talked about it before we got here. It's not a swingers club,
Angelina replied.
It's just that the island has power. When you are inducted into the club, some of that power becomes a part of you. You are tied to the island forever. And it's said that when you take that power home with you, your desires come true. Oh, so no desires on the island, just off the island?
Mitchell said and wrapped Angelina in his arms.
Bummer. I was looking forward to Desire on the island.
Angelina smushed herself into Mitchell's embrace without saying anything. Mitchell kissed the top of her head, then looked at the island, studying its gorgeous landscape.
Damn, there really is a volcano, huh?
He said.
What's its name? Take a guess. No. Yes. Seriously? Yep. The volcano is called Desire, too. How old is this club? Centuries old, I think. And they couldn't think up two names, one for the island and one for the volcano? Simpler times back then. I guess so.
When the passengers who were current members had disembarked, the remainder looked about at each other. Then one by one, the invitees took their plus ones' hands and led them down the gangplank to the dock.
Time to go, my little love genius. Ready and willing,
Mitchell said and smiled as he and Angelina walked hand in hand down to the dock to join the others. A young man in his mid-30s, dressed in resort whites and holding a clipboard, waited for them all. He turned a huge, white-toothed grin at each person and nodded once.
Greetings, pledges, and plus ones,
He said.
It is my honor to welcome you to the Island of Desire, the home of the goddess Hainori. May all your dreams come true, and may prosperity be your forever future. I like the sound of that,
Mitchell whispered in Angelina's ear. The young man fixed his eyes on Mitchell and stared hard.
Sorry,
Mitchell said after a couple of uncomfortable seconds.
I was just playing around. Of course,
The young man said. He cleared his throat and patted his chest.
I'm Denny. I am your concierge during your stay here. If you need anything, just pick up the phone in your room and ask for Denny. I'll respond immediately.
Mitchell raised his hand.
Stop!
Angelina hissed and grabbed his wrist, yanking his hand down.
Sorry.
Denny gave him one more second's worth of the hard stare, then addressed the crowd.
Your baggage is being delivered to your rooms as we speak. If you will step up to me when I call your name, I'll give you your room number and your key.
Denny started calling off names in alphabetical order. With her last name in the C's, Angelina was called fifth.
Sorry about being a pain in the butt.
Mitchell said to Denny when he and Angelina stepped forward.
I'm just excited for this trip. As you should be.
Denny said. He gave Angelina a single metal key that looked like it was from the 1950s. The plastic key fob was covered in starbursts with the room number in a font straight out of the mid-century modern style book.
No key for me?
Mitchell asked.
Oh, you won't need one,
Denny said.
Plus ones will be by their pledges side until the very end. Sounds a little codependent, don't you think?
Mitchell joked.
Baby, stop,
Angelina said.
Let the man do his job. He's very busy. It's a busy day,
Denny said.
Enjoy your stay, Miss Cartwright. Your evening attire is in your room.
He eyed Mitchell.
As is yours, sir. Evening attire? Fancy,
Mitchell said.
But I thought ahead and brought my tux. I had it fitted just last week. Good for you, sir,
Denny replied.
But tonight's attire is not black and white. Further instructions will be waiting for you in your room. Cool, thanks,
Mitchell said.
Thank you,
Angelina said to Denny, and it sounded almost like an apology. By the time Mitchell and Angelina reached their room, Angelina's mood had changed considerably.
What's wrong?
Mitchell asked after closing the door behind them.
You're being a lot, Mitchell,
Angelina said as she stripped off her shirt and slid out of her shorts.
This is a big deal for me, and I can't have you blow it by being too much. Oh, shit, babe. I'm sorry,
Mitchell said and moved toward her. She waved him off as she took off her bra and panties.
I'm taking a shower,
she said.
I'll join you,
Mitchell replied with a hip shake.
No, you relax,
she said.
I just feel grungy after the trip.
She pointed to a side table that had 2 bundles wrapped in brown paper and tied with thick twine.
You go ahead and get dressed. I'll be out in a second.
Angelina stepped over to the side table and picked up the bundle with her name on it, then hurried off to the bathroom, closing the door behind her. Mitchell stood there, a little confused.
Okay,
he said, and went to the side table. He picked up his bundle, turned it this way and that way, then set it back down and undid the twine. When he unwrapped the paper, he was surprised by what he found.
Okay,
he said as he lifted up what looked like a thin linen caftan of pure white. A note tumbled to the floor and he picked it up.
Please dress yourself in this tonight, Mr. Donahue,
the note read.
Nothing else. Do not wear undergarments. Thank you.
What the hell?
Mitchell muttered. He carried the caftan to the bathroom door and knocked.
Hey, babe, did your package have a note in it?
There was no answer. Only the sound of the shower running. Mitchell put his ear to the door and listened.
Babe?
He thought maybe he heard crying. Mitchell tried the doorknob. It was locked. The shower turned off, and Mitchell took a step back and waited. After a few minutes, the door opened, and Angelina stepped out, her body draped in a black version of the caftan Mitchell held. Hers was thin linen also, thin enough that the parts of her body that pressed against it were easy to recognize.
Damn,
Mitchell said.
We should order in tonight. You look incredible.
Angelina stared at him without saying a word.
What?
Mitchell asked, then looked at the white caftan in his hands.
Oh, right.
He stripped down as Angelina watched, then slid the caftan over his head.
You like?
He asked, doing a playful little turn.
Yes,
she said, and moved over to him, pressing herself against his body.
Thank you. For what?
He asked.
Everything,
she said and gave him a quick kiss.
I really do love you.
A horn sounded from somewhere outside, and Mitchell frowned.
Was that an actual conch blowing?
He asked and laughed.
This place has it all. Come on,
Angelina said, and took him by the hand, leading him to the door.
It's time for dinner. How do you know that? Instructions were in with my outfit,
she said. Others were leaving their rooms too, all dressed in the same black and white caftans, and Mitchell and Angelina joined the procession down to the lobby, then out of the building where Denny and a set of extended golf carts waited for them.
Please climb aboard,
Denny said.
It'll be a short trip to the top, then the festivities will proceed.
Before Mitchell could make a comment, Angelina yanked him onto one of the bench seats in the lead cart. Mitchell took the hint and stayed quiet. He remained quiet other than a few oohs and ahs at the scenery and vistas as the golf carts wound their way up the mountain to the top of the volcano.
This is amazing,
Mitchell whispered into Angelina's ear. He looked around.
Where's everyone else? I only see new folks. If the pledges could take their +1s to the observation deck, that would be great,
Denny said when all carts were present and unloaded. Angelina led Mitchell to the observation deck that hung directly over the dormant volcano. Except when Mitchell looked down into the caldera, he didn't think it was so dormant. He could swear he saw glowing magma far below.
Is this safe?
He asked Angelina as she let go of his hand and stepped back off the observation deck to stand with the other pledges. She didn't say a word to him. Mitchell glanced at the +1 next to him, a beautiful young woman with almond eyes and dark skin.
Secret clubs, am I right?
He said out of the corner of his mouth.
+1s,
Denny said in a loud voice.
The pledges thank you. Thank you.
The pledges, including Angelina, said in unison.
They love you.
Denny continued.
We love you.
The pledges echoed.
May your sacrifice bring nothing but what the pledges desire in their lives from this moment forward,
Denny said.
We give to the goddess Hainori so we may prosper,
The pledges shouted. A bad feeling hit Mitchell in the gut.
Angelina?
He asked, just as the observation deck vibrated, shifted, then dropped out from under him and the other pledges. As Mitchell fell into the caldera, he felt the heat below him grow and grow. The volcano was definitely not dormant. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.